So here we are in Unity, and the first thing I'm going to show you is how to get ProBuilder. It's free. You go to the package manager that's included with everything, I think from like Unity 2017 on. In the package manager, you just scroll down here to the P's and you'll see ProBuilder, and you can just click install, and it will in a moment install kind of like just any other Unity package, and then it'll add in there. So the other tool that's really cool that's related to ProBuilder is called ProGrids, and it's currently sort of in preview, so to see that you gotta go to this advanced menu and go to show preview packages. Then it should be right here under ProBuilder. It should show up and it says it's a preview version, but it's actually been out for a really long time, so I don't know why it's still preview. Install that just like ProBuilder. It's free. It used to be part of this Pro Tools suite that was a asset on the asset store that was like $100, I think, and I think I got it on one of the sales. But anyway, at some point Unity bought it and made it available to everyone for free. So when you install ProGrids, that one immediately activates, and so you see you have like this grids menu over here on the side of your scene, and it's got various settings set up already. So you can see probably that there's this grid floating out here that's different than the normal Unity grid that is up here. Okay, so a little more on ProGrids later. It'll become apparent how useful that is after we start using ProBuilder, I think. So to get ProBuilder to show up, you go to the tools, and you'll see there's ProGrids, but there's also ProBuilder, and there's a bunch of stuff on here, but really the main thing is the ProBuilder window. And when you open that up, it starts off as this floating window with text menus, which you can resize and kind of. I like to get it to stick over there, actually, to the side as a separate thing. It starts off in this text mode, and you can hover over, and it kind of gives you a description of the different things. It also has this icon mode, which can be cool. It looks better, at least. It's a lot more appealing. But it's kind of difficult to remember everything at a glance. So at first, anyway, usually I leave it on text mode. Then after a while, then I'll probably switch to the icon mode. So there's a bunch of different things on here. Basically, to cut to the chase, what ProBuilder is essentially like a in-game, or not in-game, in Unity modeling tool. So usually if you're in Unity, one of the first things you might do to a scene is go here, right click in the hierarchy, go to 3D object, and create your simple cube, and then it'll plop that into the scene. So with ProBuilder, you click new shape, you get pretty much the same thing, but there are some differences. One of them is that it comes already with this pretty cool material on it that's exactly 1 meter. So it's good for measuring out things, which often if you're trying to figure out scale for your level, that's really handy to have. Another thing to notice is that the pivot is actually here in the lower corner of the cube, whereas the pivot for the normal Unity object is in the middle of the cube. You can change that. One of the things that when you have the ProBuilder cube selected, there's this item over here, center pivot. Boom. Now it is in the middle of the cube. And what that does is you see it kind of changed the material there. That is because this is actually UV mapped to the material. So doing this kind of messes up the 1 meter part, but ultimately I think that's okay. So if you don't like the pivot being in the center of the object, which, you know, it's kind of, it can be annoying sometimes. Like if you have a ground plane at 0, 0, 0, or even just, you know, if you set this to 0 in the Y, then you can see that, you know, half of the cube is quote unquote in the floor, even though I don't have a floor here. But, you know, let's just add a normal. Well, I could add a normal plane, but you know what, you can, let me just go to this part of ProBuilder also. So this new shape button, if you click the little plus here, it opens up a new shape window. So you see it's got this cube and it's kind of blue. It doesn't exist yet until you click this build button, and you can change the size and things, but you can also change what type of object it is. One of the things is plane, so you want a ground plane. There we go. So let's make a plane for the ground. So we'll build that. We'll click build. There it is. And then if you reset the transform of this guy, you see that the pivot is set in the corner, and so that's where 0, 0, 0 is. Sometimes, like with this plane, I would kind of want the center, because I like 0 to be in the middle of the world. So you center pivot, and then you can see that it's automatically repositioned the object. So now if I reset it, there, my ground plane is in the middle, and the origin of the entire universe is in the middle of the ground, which is kind of how I like it. So then if I grab my ProBuilder cube, let me reset this guy back. So here he's kind of just like a Unity one, where the origin's in the center, where the pivot point is in the center. And so, you know, in like Unity, you would pull that guy up a little bit, so Y 0.5, and now he's sitting on top of the ground. So sometimes you might not want that. You might want it to automatically be snapped to the bottom. So that's where these things will come into play. Right now I'm in object mode, so it selects the whole object. There's also Vertex selection mode, where you can select individual points on the object. There's edges, select the edges, and face, you select the whole face. So when you have one of these other ones, the option for center pivot, you can set pivot. It sets it in the center of the selected thing. So if we want to put it at the bottom, we could highlight the bottom face here and set the pivot down here. So now if I reset, boom, the pivot's at the bottom on the origin, in the center of the cube still, but right at the ground, so you don't have to worry about that. So the same thing goes for the other selections. If you choose a vertex, you can set pivot. Now the pivot's that one. If you set edge, then set pivot. Now the pivot's there. So let me just put my pivot back. I think I want it on the bottom face, so I'll select that and set pivot, and then I can reset this guy back to the middle. So another cool thing that ProBuilder has is vertex painting. So everything being the same white texture can be annoying, and what calling this the ground anyway, so we can go to, you can just highlight this object. So I've highlighted the plane in object mode, and then you can open up Vertex colors on the menu, and it comes with these default colors in there. You can just say, okay, this ground's gonna be orange or green, and we can pretend it's grass, or maybe we want it to be blue, you know, whatever works out. When you're prototyping levels, you know, you can set different areas to different colors to mean different things to you, you know, whatever. So that's pretty cool. That is, and can be much easier to look at and say, okay, now the cube isn't blending in with my view. So as I said before, ProBuilder is basically a 3D modeling software. It's not as powerful as something like Blender, because you can't do animations or sculpting or a lot of the many things that Blender does, but you can create complete, you know, static meshes. It has a UV editor. You can texture them, so you know, you create environments, pretty good environments with it. But primarily, what it's going to be used for, as opposed to doing all of that in Blender, is prototyping levels. So one thing you can do by selecting these various tools, edge or the vertex, edge, and face. Select a face and then move it up. It's actually extending the size of the model, so it's not scaling it. See, my scale is still 1:1:1, whereas if I were to use the scale tool in Unity, you can do the same thing. You can make it taller, but it's actually changing the scale of the object. And the reason why that can be important is because if you wanted to child this to anything, or create a child, so if I created a child object like a cube as a child to this one, then you can see that it has automatically inherited the parent scaling. So even though this cube is scaled to 1:1:1, it is not it's not just a 1 meter cube, and that is probably not what you wanted when you have that. So let's just get rid of that stuff for now, and let's just create a new ProBuilder cube and reset it. And so what you might do, you might take this face selection and let's make it 3 meters tall, and then you want to make it wide, so you make a nice wall there, but then you want to make it turn a corner. And so how would you do that? So one of the things, if you're not familiar with modeling, this might be new to you, but when you want to basically create a new face that extends out, that's called extruding. So you can extrude faces, and it'll automatically kind of move that up a little bit. And now you'll see that in the face selection I have these are all separate faces. So after I've extruded, then I can take that face and, oh nope, can't do that. So Control Z will undo some things. That might have been desirable if that's what you wanted to do, but that edge is connected, so those two faces are connected. So anytime you bring that along, it's going to move it. So then you actually have to extrude it again. So extrude out, and then okay, now I can make kind of like a, you know, that right angle type of curve. Now if you want to move edges and things and make angles, you can can totally do that. You can move this and grab this edge and move it down like that, or move it out. You know, whatever shape you're kind of going after, and then it'll have various faces, and it's automatically UV mapped everything so that it scales across these faces nicely. Okay, so another thing I really wanted to show about ProBuilder that I think really makes it a must-have, like automatic install for your toolbox, is dealing with colliders. So what I have here is this is a piece from Aquarius Max's medieval mega pack, just to use it as an example. And this prefab of this little platform here comes with a mesh collider on it. And so the mesh collider is going to match up to the geometry pretty much exactly. So that includes leaving these holes here in the floorboards. And you know, maybe you want that for your game. It depends. You know, maybe you need something to be able to fall through the cracks, or you want to shoot an arrow at the something below, or whatever it is. Perhaps you want that, but maybe you don't. One reason that you might not want it is that you're doubling the geometry for physics. So this is a very complicated physics interaction when all you really need is maybe a box collider. So you could add a box collider, and it's gonna by default you know, encompass the entire bounds of the model, which includes these sticks. So you more likely probably still want to be able to walk underneath it, so then you would edit your box collider, slide it up there maybe, so then you've got the platform piece, and then you know, you're going to remove this mesh collider. So then you have that, and well, you still don't want to be able to just pass through these posts, which would happen. So you could add another box collider, perhaps. Where the heck did that edit collider thing go? This must be a bug in the the beta version that I'm on. Okay, so anyway, you could add multiple colliders. We'll just remove that component. You could add multiple colliders to it, maybe add some capsules for the beams instead, so you could have 3 simple colliders instead of one complicated mesh collider. Or you could use ProBuilder. So let's remove that component and let's add a new shape, and let's just reset it so it comes up here, and I'm holding down control when I'm scrolling along so that it will snap to grid, although I have Pro Grids and I can turn grid snapping on and have it automatically do that. Anyway, I'll get more into ProBuilder later, or I mean ProGrids later. So then we can do what we did with our selecting faces and just moving this shape up here so it fits. And we'll get it like that. That, and maybe move this whole object down just a smidge. Well, that's why you might not want snapping on, because you want it to kind of go around this object. And then you can select this face and extrude it out so that we can do the posts here, and we'll select this other face and extrude it down so that it starts to go downward. You know what, let me turn the lighting off so I can see that stuff a little bit better. Okay, and then so now we want it just to go down these posts. So we can take the we need to add some edges in here so that we can extrude out. And so how you would do that, you actually need to go into get edge here, and we'll select this edge, and then it has insert edge loop, and then you can kind of move that loop over here to the post area and just press enter to commit it, and then select this edge again, and we'll create another loop, move it over here to this other post and commit that. Now we'll switch back to the faces, and we'll select this bottom face here, extrude down. You've got your post one, select this other face if I can. Hopefully, is this it? Yeah, oops, Control Z. Extrude face down here. Let's move that down to the groundish area. You know, if you want, doesn't have to be perfect, obviously. If you want to grab this edge here, if I can get at it, there we go. Move it out a little bit. You can, you know, it's up to you how accurate you want that to be. Alright, so now we've got this weird, it's a cube, it's called cube anyway, but this is our very simple version of the beam. And then when you have it selected in object mode, you can come here and you can say set collider. Boom. That turns it into a mesh collider and applies a special mesh collider material on it. So now this is going to be your collider, and in edit mode you can see the exact shape. You can continue to edit the object. You know, it's similar to how you might edit the an object in with the edit the box collider, except for you have all your same face adjustments that you can make, so you can change it up to make it fit however you want it to do. You know, obviously that's not quite how it would work, but that's fine. So it's a collider, and the cool thing is that that's now a mesh collider, and the material is automatically set in script to not show up when it's playing. So if I just grab the camera and I'll go up to game object, align with view, and then click play, you can see it's not showing that that material. It only shows up in edit mode, which is pretty cool. And so if we just, I guess to prove that it's a collider, we'll add a cube here, reset that, just float it up on top here, above it, and we'll add a rigid body to it so it will fall with gravity, and we click play, and you can see it falls down and sticks to the ground, or well, the object. And so that is one way you can use it not only for prototyping your levels, but for making super simple colliders. So that's it for now. This video is getting a little long. There's still a ton of features and things you can do with ProBuilder, things that I probably want to talk about, and still need to talk a little bit about ProGrids too, although that one's a little bit more self-explanatory. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can leave a comment about it. I also welcome any feedback. This is kind of my first tutorial video on YouTube. As I guess all the YouTube things say, maybe the algorithms are watching. Like and subscribe if you want to. Thanks.